Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Mount Vernon City Council meeting for January 25th, 2023 to order. The time is now 7:01. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item C is a roll call of council members. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Beaton? Here. Councilmember Brocksmith?
Here.
Councilmember Correas?
Here.
Councilmember Hudson?
Here.
Councilmember Holst?
Here.
Councilmember Molinar?
Here.
Councilmember Morales?
Here.
Thank you. Under community comments, item 1 is a review of emails from the public, and so I'll ask Peter Donovan if there were any community comments sent to communitycomments@mountvernon.gov.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, there was one email with an attached letter, and it took me a little over 25 minutes to read through the letter. So with council's permission, I made some edits and would like to read maybe a 7-minute version that I think maintains the original intent of the letter. Also with the understanding if the public is interested in obtaining the letter, we could certainly provide all of that. Would that be all right to? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So the email came from Ellen Gamson, the Executive Director of the Mount Vernon Downtown Association. The letter is signed by both Ellen and Kathleen Bazane, the past president of the Mount Vernon Downtown Association. The letter was dated January 23rd, 2023, and it says, "Dear Mayor and Council, prior to taking action with regard to the staff report and recommendation as presented to Council during the Development Services Committee meeting on January 18th, we request your thoughtful consideration of the following comments prepared in response to the report. With little time to prepare these comments, having just received the report less than a week ago, we appreciate your consideration of this letter in support of an independent design review board to protect and enforce the city's design standards for the historic downtown district. Design standards for the historic downtown district are valued to maintain and protect the integrity and character of our historic downtown district. Design standards for the downtown district offer carefully considered and carefully crafted parameters that strive, 1, to protect the historic district from rampant, unregulated, or eccentric construction, and 2, to guide property owners seeking to build and improve their buildings in a way that respects the historic nature and structural integrity of the buildings, benefiting the quality of life for the community at large, protecting property values of the surrounding parcels, and enhancing the appeal for visitors. Design standards for historic downtown districts are proven strategies for economic and community revitalization. Please consult with the Main Street Program, a national and state revitalization program in which the Downtown Mount Vernon Association is a designee in good standing since 2009 and a senior participant in a statewide and nationwide network of cities active in community development. As we learned in our interview with the authors of Seattle's Ballard Avenue design review process, because of the inherently subjective nature of renovating historic structures, it is advisable to have a committee to administer the process. To this end, the Design Review Board is a recent creation of municipal code along with the design standards in 2018 as part of the planning and permitting process. We agree that it is correct to review its process and where issues can be identified to streamline its efficiency and improve applicants' experience without surrendering its effectiveness and protecting the integrity and character of our historic downtown. We look forward to working with Mr. Groth to that end. There are 8 issues that are listed in the letter. Issue number 1 is an independent design review board, an impediment to the implementation and enforcement of design standards set by the City of Mount Vernon. Short answer, no. An independent design review board is critical to the implementation and enforcement of the codified design standards. An independent design review board made up of informed, educated, and invested stakeholders is critical to carrying out the intention of the design standards for downtown. The reason for independent citizen review boards, whether it be a civil service commission or citizen advisory boards, is to act as a fail-safe of public interest and mitigate the vagaries of politics. The design standards for the downtown district cover a wide variety of projects, from new construction to renovation or facade improvements of buildings, some built over a century ago. Some of these buildings have been remodeled over the years, which presents its own set of issues regarding the integrity of design and the best approach to applying the standards. Standards that span so many materials, aesthetics, and uses require interpretation when there is an issue of compliance. 7-Eleven, for example, the first project the Design Review Board was called upon to review was the 7-Eleven on Kincaid at the entrance to the city. The plan that was first presented violated the design standards in many ways. Had there been no review board, the building would now be a cookie cutout of all other 7-Elevens with a windowless back wall facing downtown instead of the building we have oriented toward pedestrian traffic, engaged with downtown, and attractive with subtle signage and detailing. Members of the council have hailed that project result as a praiseworthy outcome of the implementation of design standards and need to be aware that the applicant was required to return with plans amended to comply with the standards. If there are inefficiencies in the process, we welcome suggestions for improvement, but disagree with the conclusion that the solution would be to remove the Downtown Design Board from the permitting process or revise the code to specify design review as an administrative review. Issue number 2, should an independent DRB be removed from the permitting process and design review be incorporated into the administrative process? Short answer, no. The reason for the citizen review boards or citizen advisory boards is to act as a fail-safe of public interest and mitigate the vagaries of politics. Issue 3, is it proper and correct action for the DRB to exercise subjective decision-making and deliberation in determining whether a project complies with design standards or discuss alternatives along with issues with the applicant? Short answer, yes, within the parameters of the code. Issue number 4, should a representative of the DRB be included earlier in the pre-application process to help inform the applicant as to the requirements of the design standards? Short answer, yes. We agree that it would be helpful to the permitting process if a member of the DRB were included earlier in the pre-application process. Issue number 5, should the makeup of the DRB as set forth in the municipal code be revised? Short answer, no. Issue number 6, would standardizing the DRB meeting times and formalizing the rules of order serve to review the process, to make the review process more transparent and efficient? Short answer, unknown, but undisputed. Issue number 7, are the Mount Vernon design standards as set forth in the code and augmented by the Mount Vernon Design Standards Handbook sufficiently specific to allow for meaningful understanding by an applicant as to their responsibility for compliance? Short answer, unknown. The Design Standards Handbook is a useful tool, but not intended to be definitive. And issue number 8, raised by the DRB, when facade renovation that is already underway triggers design review, causing the exterior work to cease until a determination can be made, should the property owner be ordered to cease and desist from interior work as well until a determination is made by the DRB? Short answer, no, there is no reason for that. If design review is triggered to address facade renovation already underway, that work under the permit, such as interior improvements that meet code and would otherwise be approved, should be required to cease. Conclusion, we appreciate and acknowledge the desirability to assess the process and work of the Design Review Board, which is a new creation of the municipal code. We believe that the solid outcomes of the projects reviewed illustrate the value of an independent DRB. Though review of this relatively new process is correct, we question the timing of any suggestion to remove an independent review board with the waterfront development looming. We do not accept the premise that the DRB is responsible for impeding the process of development downtown, but quite the contrary, assert the belief that it is the key to protecting the integrity and character of our historic downtown, assuring that any development will be conducted with care, benefiting the entire community, its quality of life, and economic vitality. We reject the premise of poor or inefficient performance by the review board created by misdirection and misunderstanding from the report, and we hope we have healed some of that with this letter while apologizing for its length. Design standards without independent board review will lead to unintended problems and could yield politically motivated results that are not in the best long-term interest of the greater community. The request to disassemble the Design Review Board comes just as the city is about to open the waterfront for development, a key goal for the past few decades into which a tremendous amount of planning and money has been and is being invested. Without a design review board, the waterfront development will be a free-for-all. Projects like the Mount Vernon Library Commons and waterfront development, through sheer scale and proportionate visual impact, have the potential to irrevocably change the character of downtown, potentially causing a loss of the unique character and authentic feel of the heart of our community. We submit to council that an independent design review board made up of a variety of committed and invested perspectives is the best way to protect those assets and grow our community in a manner that is congruent with what our citizenry has indicated is important to them. Respectfully submitted, this 23rd day of January, Kathleen Dzane and Ellen Gamson.
Thank you, Peter. Was that the only comment that was emailed then?
That was the only.
All right, thank you. Moving on into our agenda. Is any public comments from folks that are here this evening? Any public comments from this evening? All right, moving on. Our consent agenda is currently listed on our agenda as items A, B, and C. Those are council meeting minutes, payroll checks, and claims.
Madam Mayor, I would move that council move agenda items H through U into the consent agenda. These are kind of housekeeping tasks that we do every year. Everybody on the council's had an opportunity to review those proposals, and the public is more than willing, or more than able to look on the website to see what those are. But they are just basic housekeeping tasks that we do every year. So I would move that we move those items to the consent agenda.
All right. That's a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mark and a second by Mary. Again, moving items on the agenda for H through U to the consent. Any discussion? Right, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That will make our meeting a little bit shorter, so thank you for that. So now that we've added items, now we have items A, B, C, H through U on our consent agenda.
I move the approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you. Motion by Mark and a second by Richard. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Under reports tonight is item A is our committee report of the Finance and Parks and Enrichment Services Committee. That's Councilmember Mary Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor. We met tonight here in these chambers at 6 o'clock. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from October 22nd. There was some discussion, and we approved the meeting minutes. Second up was the Finance Director, Doug Valesky. The first item that we discussed was the LTGO bond, or line of credit. We discussed the terms for going out for a short-term bond line of credit for the Mount Vernon Library Commons project to account for upcoming expenditures before funding is received from the city's TIFIA loan and grant funding. So we just draw down on this loan as needed and pay back as needed. So it's just so that we have some cash flow there. The second thing we talked about was some council agenda items. Doug will be bringing a consulting services agreement with Dell Consulting back for us. This is someone we've dealt with before. It's just an ongoing contract to help with annual audit and financial statements as needed. And then we're going to also be discussing a 2023 budget amendment first of all, for the Parks Department for approval for additional part-time employees. It's really only a housekeeping motion because in our new OpenGov program, it doesn't program or budget based on hours or dollars, it based on positions. So we're just adding the positions because it's already funded in our budget. And then the second thing we'll talk about will be our wastewater utility needs to purchase a mini excavator. So that is a new line item for our budget and will come out of that utility funding. We talked about the 2022 sales tax report, and it's good news for the city. We brought in over $1 million more than we budgeted, our estimate was. So that's pretty fantastic news. It means sales are good, revenues are good, so that hopefully translates, probably for sure does, to business in the city. So that's really good for everybody. We also talked about the 2021 annual financial report. We were presented with the 2021 financial statements and federal single audit report. And in both of those, we received unmodified opinions, which is the very best we can get. So we're very happy with that. Next item was we talked with Jennifer Berner, our Parks and Enrichment Services Director. The first thing we reviewed were restrooms in our parks. Parks are broken down into 4 different categories, and Jennifer showed us where in the city park system now where the parks are that have restrooms and the types of parks that don't have restrooms, basically. Talked about costs for portable versus permanent restrooms and the ongoing costs associated with each. So we've got some more things to discuss and wanted some more additional information. So that will be another discussion moving forward. We did get a Sherman Anderson Park update, which was great. Currently still on schedule to complete prior to baseball season, at least practice season, which is what we're excited about. We're still waiting delivery of some steel poles. So it's been pushed out a couple times, so we're hoping that this time they can come in when they say they will be here. We'll get that finished on time. We had a great conversation about the PUD field update. We have a collaboration going on with Mount Vernon School District, the Public Utility District, and the city regarding the possible renovation of Mount Baker Middle School fields. We discussed some operations and the terms of the agreement, so that's something that we'll keep talking about. We asked for some more input on that as well. The next thing we talked about was the pros plan update. The survey ends January 31st. We've had a really good response. They're getting ready to schedule focus group meetings, and then they'll come back and talk to us in March with the Planning Commission and City Council. If you haven't taken the survey, please go online to the City of Mount Vernon website, Parks Department, and you can go in and take the survey, because it's information that we need to make good sound decisions as we move forward with our Parks Department. The recreation program has been doing good. Fall and winter classes had really good success with some new classes such as the Survival Club, Youth Dance, Adult Tap Dance, and Adult Art classes. And then they are starting to work or have been working on spring and summer programs. A new guide will be out in March, so look for that. We're going to be back with our very popular supervised playground and rec on the go. And those were 2 programs we rolled out last year that were very popular, and we're happy to say that they're coming back again this year. And we adjourned our meeting at 6:58.
All right. Thank you, Mary. Next up is our Development Services Committee report, and this month that will be Councilmember Mark Holst.
Good evening. The Development Services Committee met here in the council chambers on July 18th at 6 o'clock. Pardon?
You said July. It was
Did I say
January.
July? Okay, January
Wasn't that
18th,
long
sorry.
ago.
I'm wanting to get into that summertime mode, I guess. First person we heard from was Jennifer Johnson from the Skagit County. She presented an update on the North Star project. Then we heard from George Kosevich from Skagit County Health. He gave us some updates on some homeless services available and some of the funding that's available for those. Mayor Boudreau then gave us a brief overview on House Bill 1590 funds, how those funds could be used. For those that aren't familiar with 1590 funds, it was a sales tax that was put into place to allow for to help with low income housing and some housing for the most vulnerable in our community. We've been collecting those funds now for, I believe, about a year and a half, and those funds have yet to be allocated. Council will be meeting in the future on how to allocate those funds out. We then heard from Darren Groth, our Development Services Director. He kind of gave an overview of our Design Review Committee, where things are working, where things aren't working. He didn't really brief council on anything that we weren't already aware of. This was a kind of a request of council to, hey, Darren, could you look into this, verify what we're seeing, what we're hearing from the public, and basically he has. And he's made some recommendations. Those recommendations will come back before council for action in the future. We had a letter earlier. I usually don't like to address public comment. There's an indication that we would soften up our design standards for the downtown corridor. That is absolutely false. Our design standards are codified. There's a set prescription on when those are triggered, and there is no intention to vary those in any way. Just maybe how we go through the permitting process. So that's still some discussion that's gonna come before council before any action is taken. Darren also then gave us an update on our SmartGov program. Several years ago, we put in SmartGov. The idea behind SmartGov was to speed up some of our permitting. And we're now gonna open up some tools in SmartGov that'll make permitting even quicker and faster and easier to submit for larger projects. So currently you have to wait for a little code, and you have to go into that code and then upload all your files, and you got a prescribed time frame in which to do that in. The new process will be you go to the website, you put in your information, and you upload it. You can do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's gonna speed up our permitting process and just make things a lot easier, both on those that are applying for permits, but also on our staff. They'll be able to have that information and get access to it very quickly. Under the good of the order, the mayor informed council that there's gonna be a need for development services staff to contract with an outside land use attorney to expedite some land use reviews. And then, again, as Councilmember Hudson referred to, our Finance Director, Doug Gillespie, we had a discussion about the possibility of a line of credit to provide some cash flow while we're going through the Library Commons project construction. And we adjourned at 8:15.
Thank you, Mark. Item B is our council member comments. Any council member comments this evening? Okay, mayor's report, just a few things, some good news. I have the distinct honor of presenting a gift to our police department. So if Chief Kamick doesn't mind maybe coming up here. Probably gonna tell me to
You want the microphone?
All right, so I have a certificate to read and I have a flag to present. So this is, of course, is the flag of the United States of America. This is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol at the request of the Honorable Susan K. Del Bene, Member of Congress. This flag was flown for the City of Mount Vernon Police Department in recognition of their response to the incident on July 17, 2022 at the Mount Vernon Walmart, as well as the detective work which led to the arrests of those involved. The Congresswoman recognizes the leadership, officers, and staff of the Mount Vernon Police Department as they continue their work for making their community a safe, welcoming place for all. Signed by the architect of the Capitol, J. Brent Blanton. So I have the pleasure of presenting this to our chief.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congresswoman Del Bene was a wonderful representative of the 1st Congressional District. After redistricting, we now have the Honorable Representative Rick Larson, and but we're pleased to have representation from Congresswoman Del Bene. So. All right, next up is just a reminder, was mentioned by Councilmember Hudson in her report, but our Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan is open, the survey. We want to hear from our community on what we want to have in our parks and open space going forward. So please go to our city website, mountvernon.gov/parks, and you can fill out that survey. We've had quite a response, which we've been excited to hear, but we still have time to hear more feedback. So please let us know what you want in your parks going forward. And then there's an event coming up on Friday, this Friday. It's Illuminite. And I forgot how many years we've been doing this. But it's a really interesting and fun event on dark January evenings where the public brings luminaries to our downtown waterfront. We have music, we go on a walk, and we just celebrate art and light in a dark time. So please join us at 5 o'clock with live music, educational booths, a short luminary lit procession along the Skagit River. You can bring your own luminary if you have one, or pick one up at Tri-D Arts, which is downtown. And thanks to all of the sponsors, including the Skagit Watershed Council, and Council Member Richard Boxsmith is involved there. So join us Friday night at 5. All right, item D tonight is committee agenda requests. Any committee agenda requests from council? All right, and just a reminder, we do have one on the list that we will be putting on an agenda coming up, and that's the pedestrian walkway along the SR 538 bridge. Just making sure we didn't forget about that.
No, ma'am, I do have a.
Oh, go ahead.
Agenda request, and it has to do with finance. I would like to kind of get a review of where we're sitting in our utility funds, our enterprise funds, just kind of where those funds are sitting and how those project out over the next several years to make sure we're on track.
Okay, we'll make a note and we'll have our finance director do that for you. Thanks, Mark. All right, there is no unfinished business tonight. Under new business, item A is a recognition of heroic efforts. I'm gonna ask our fire chief, Bryce, and our police chief, Kamek, to come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're here to honor someone from our community. So your police and fire, do a really good job for you folks here in the city, but unfortunately, because the system, sometimes we're not always the first ones on scene. Sometimes it's the citizens. From the fire side, we see that a lot in our medical aids, whether it's someone doing CPR, making some assistance. Perhaps on the police side, it's getting the information about the suspect or providing that information and bringing that back. Well, on December 30th, we had one of those incidents where a vehicle was struck and it went into a pool. Again, we were dispatched immediately and responded to that. Our first arriving officer on scene of that, the police officer, when he got there, he saw an individual in the pool next to a vehicle pulling someone out of the vehicle. Now, again, it's always hard to say what happens if that doesn't happen, but we can tell you that the car was under the water, up to its window level. The person was in there, probably not doing as well, at least from the initial patient condition when we saw them. And so that action definitely denotes that there needs to be some recognition. So tonight I want to invite Alberto Delgado to come on up here and recognize him for his action. Not only did he do the action, unfortunately, I think he was involved in the incident as well, because he was part of that, but didn't stop and get distracted from what had happened to him. His thoughts immediately went to, oh my God, there's a car in the pool and I can't swim and I'm afraid of the water. I'm just kidding, he's not afraid of the water. But he jumped in the pool, assisted the person out of there, and by the time the officer got there and was able to help them out of the pool, making that action possible and helping that person out. So tonight we have a recognition for him that states, the city of Mount Vernon hereby recognizes Alberto Delgado for their courageous actions during an emergency incident on December 30th, 2022. At personal risk, you came to the aid of a fellow community member with dedication and diligence. Thank you very much.
That brings tears to my
All right. Thank you for our first responders to bring the story forward to us. We may not have known that had occurred, and so we're happy to be able to recognize Mr. Delgado. So, all right. Item B tonight is the Mount Vernon Library Commons update. So I'm gonna invite members of our Mount Vernon Library Commons project team to come forward. So HKP Architects, of course, is our architect of record. Christine Baldwin is here for that. OAC Services is our professional project management. That's Adam Johnson is here for that. And Alex Carey is the project manager for Lighted Construction. They have a really nice comprehensive overview of what's been going on in our project for council. And so as soon as we get their slides up, we will hand it over to them for an update. The slide's not there. I can forward it to TV10. Or it should be there. Candy might have it. Just add that. While they're figuring out, why don't we go ahead for the next agenda item? It's a pretty quick one. Is that all right? It's item C. It's the approval of a reappointment to the library board.
And I'll speak to that.
All right.
All right, so as you know, the library has a semi-independent board that is in charge of general policy and administration of the library. We have a board member who is up for reappointment for their second term, Mrs. Lynn Olson. Lynn has been serving on the library board for the past 4 years and done a wonderful job representing this community. She's also one of our dedicated volunteers. She manages a little free library. She is like out in the community just spouting library goodness all about, and generally just a pleasure to be around. So I ask that she get reappointed for a second term to the library board.
All right.
Well, if she's out spouting library goodness, I can't imagine why we wouldn't want her to be on the board. So I will second, or make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mary and a second by Iris. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Isaac. All right, back to our Mount Vernon Library Commons update, which Lynn absolutely supports.
Candy still here?
Yep.
There we go.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, council, for having us this evening. My name is Christine Baldwin with HKP Architects and Project Architect. As the mayor noted, we have Alex Carey with Leidig, general contractor, and Adam Johnson with OAC here this evening as well. Tonight, we're going to provide an update on schedule and project budget, as well as give an overview of where we're at in terms of construction. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Alex.
Good evening, I'm Alex Carey. So I'm going to start off with the schedule update. So this is a sort of snip of our schedule. We use Primavera P6 to track progress for the Mount Vernon Library Commons. So we have a critical path impact through our utility provider, Puget Sound Energy. The critical path is the longest path through a project from start to end. And so if an impact happens to the critical path, it does sort of impact the entire project duration. Puget Sound Energy has existing infrastructure that conflicts with some of the new improvements that we're making for the ground, the rammed aggregate piers, which support the building structure. And so that is critical to the entire building itself. We've also run into a few other things on site. We call these non-critical path delays. So the things that have impacted the project but don't necessarily increase the duration in excess of what we've seen on the critical path impact. In that category, we have the underground storage tanks were discovered. There's been 3 so far, 2 of which were, what was that? Just three, and we're not going to find any others. Yeah, 2 of which we believe were part of a gas station previously on site, about 6,000 gallons, and then 1 that we believe was a part of an underground, undertaker building that was serving as like an oil for heating purposes for that building. We also discovered the former 3rd Street underneath the new 3rd Street as we were demolishing some of the parking lot. So we had to remove that, and it was in conflict with some of our new planned work there. We also have Skagit PUD's presence sort of in that lot directly to the east of the project. There is some additional coordination we've had to do, making sure that they're still able to access the courthouse in their areas. And then last but not least is the snowstorm that we all definitely felt at the end of December. That impacted the PSC work that was ongoing, and because it was impacting PSC, that's why it sort of showed up on the schedule as well. Looking forward, we'll talk about construction progress in a few slides, but just kind of looking forward at what are maybe some risks that we're still looking at on the project. The Krypton gas for the windows. So Krypton gas is primarily manufactured in Ukraine. And there's the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine right now. We've been told by our window manufacturers that Krypton gas will not be available in windows. It's the interstitial space between the window panes that provides like U value, better envelope ratings. That probably won't be available for the next 6 years. So that's sort of a full industry impact that we're feeling. Electrical switchgear is a electrical infrastructure basically from the utility provider to the building. It's that middle step that takes all the power and then distributes it to the subpanels. That has been sort of a known issue in the market for the last year or so. Ever since sort of the COVID pandemic, we've been battling. The components of the switchgear come from China and sort of Asia areas, and so that's been behind schedule for a few years now. And then brick is sort of the newest one, so we've been trying to forecast out, as a general contractor, our job is to figure out what are long lead items and forecast how we can get those on order as soon as possible. Brick is the newest sort of wrinkle in that complex network of material procurement. I think with metal pricing going up during the pandemic, a lot of projects opted for brick. It's usually the preferred option, and it became either a similar cost or even cheaper than other building materials. And because of that, that backlog has just grown with the brick suppliers. And so that is another sort of longer lead item than used to be the standard, before 2020. So those are things that we are looking forward at and planning for, but just things to keep in mind as we move forward on this project. And then the good news, so potential schedule recovery. So we are going to be implementing a new technology. It's called PS0, which stands for Pour Strip equals zero. Pour Strip is integral to a cast-in-place PT concrete structure. And by eliminating a pour strip, you are able to save about a month on the schedule. So by using this new technology, we hope to save about 28 days and get our schedule closer to back on track. And then we also have other ways to expedite the critical path. So as we sort of get through our structure, we'll be looking at what areas we want to target to expedite and or spend some overtime to push our finish date further back online on where we originally started. So,
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Go ahead.
The Krypton gas, the 6-year, what?
We have no windows.
I mean,
for
it kind of
6
just that took my breath away
What do
because
we
it's
do?
like, okay, what's the plan? I mean, obviously you have a plan, so
Yeah.
what's the plan?
So Krypton is one of like many gases that you can use in that interstitial layer. Because this project has a lot of like the passive house goal. I'm sure you guys have heard of passive house. So really it's a super insulated envelope. Krypton performs better than like argon gas or there's like neon gas that you can use there. It just has the best U value, which maximizes your efficiency on the window.
Okay, thank you.
And then I guess, Alex, what is the total days at this point?
As of today, it was 62 working days, which equates to about 2.5 months. Next up,
Any other questions before Alex sits down?
I'll be back in a couple
Okay.
slides,
All
but
right.
any questions on schedule?
All right.
Okay.
Okay, Adam Johnson again with OEC. Nice to see you all again. I'm gonna try to talk somewhat big picture here on the budget and where we stand on the budget. You can see on the right-hand side there, where we're at with our project contingency. So if you recall, when we came here in August, we had 3.7 million and change in project contingency sort of forecasted. The orange slice there represents our known and our forecasted and estimated costs to date. So some of these have been realized, and some of these are now what were unknowns are now our knowns, and that pricing will get finalized in the coming weeks and month. But overall, we still have a real healthy contingency left, and given where we're at in the schedule, we're coming over the sort of riskiest part of our schedule, where we would normally see the most risk in a project. Most of it's getting out of the ground, and like you just heard, the 3 underground storage tanks and the changes that we've seen from Puget Sound Energy have definitely had an impact on us, but we're sort of getting over that hump now. And if you were downtown today, you saw the tower crane going up, so pretty soon we'll be going vertical. Most of the groundwork is done. You'll see all the rammed aggregate piers that have gone in on a later slide here. So our opportunities for any more underground storage tanks are pretty slim at this point, thankfully. So yeah, overall we have a pretty healthy project contingency right now, given where we're at and the challenges that we've dealt with. The biggest impacts that you see up there, again, Puget Sound Energy, the additional scope that they gave us, some of the additional days as part of that scope that we've had to deal with, the 3 underground storage tanks, and then the old 3rd Street asphalt removal. Additionally, there's like some of the ad alternates that we've accepted, like the walk-in commercial cooler and freezer as well. So. Next, we have had some savings within our soft cost budget as well. So again, a lot of these were estimated costs when we came here in August. So we've seen definitely some underruns on the ones that you see here. These are the biggest ones where we've seen the underruns. So the monitoring and impact fees, the property acquisition, and then the big one was permits. Savings under our total project budget there. And then we got hit with more charges than we had definitely anticipated, again, from Puget Sound Energy. They don't really give you an estimate until they give you the cost. That's sort of a all-in-one deal. So this was, if we had had the sort of original scope that we had agreed to with Puget Sound Energy, or that we had the original scope that we had believed that we were proceeding with anyways with Puget Sound Energy, we probably would have been a lot closer to that estimated cost. But with the added scope that we've seen from them, that's definitely driven a lot of the costs. So any other questions on budget?
A little bit more on the Puget Sound Energy issue. So our goal is to get them done and gone. And
yeah,
once that occurs, this project team has been unbelievably attentive to all of the details and sort of that scope creep of them. And so we'll be looking very closely at what we really feel like was our costs versus what really is their costs. So the goal though is to get them to finish and get going away so we can, but just know, council, there's some more work to do on what we believe our charges are to be with Puget Sound Energy. Is that a fair statement?
yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Any questions for Adam on where we're at?
I'd like to see more green over there.
Yeah, sure. Of
Just
course.
FYI.
There is a little bit more green. There's a little more red too. But just these are sort of the biggest impacts we've seen for the soft cost budget so far. So, but again, overall, still have a real healthy contingency given where we're at in the project. So.
Okay.
Okay, this is a map of our GeoPier installation. We have a really nice, fancy marked up map that we track our progress with, and unfortunately did not translate to the slideshow. But I just wanted to share the progress that we've made on the rammed aggregate pier installation. If you've been in the downtown area the last couple months, you've probably seen a yellow mass going up and down. That is a drill rig that installs the rammed aggregate piers, which are essentially 24-inch gravel columns that go between 42 feet and 27 feet into the ground. We have 1,019, I believe, of these piers to drill, and of those 1,019, we have 100 remaining.
Oh.
Those 100 remaining are going to be along 2nd Street and along Kincaid, directly in line with the existing power. So the purpose of us moving that PSE line is to get those out of the way of the footings in the rammed aggregate piers, so that we can place those pieces of structure and then continue on with the rest of the project. Any questions on geopiers? They will be back in about 2 weeks, so they won't be working. If you guys have felt the vibrations or anything like that, they won't be working for the next 2 weeks, but they will be back shortly.
That would be Melissa, right? Have you felt the vibrations?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have a front row seat
Yeah.
at the entire project, and I do mean that. I'm excited to be part of this body, to work with the mayor and her staff, but to have that front row seat and just watching it. And I watched the what is it, the blue crane
Yeah.
go up today, and
Yeah.
and I was sitting there and I was working and I needed a break, and I pulled up Instagram and I looked down and I went, oh, that's what was going on when I was.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
It's exciting. It's definitely a milestone that we've been tracking for a long time, is getting the crane put up, and today was a big day for our team. So we're all very excited for that. That might actually be the next slide. Nope. Okay. So the next slide is utilities. So we've talked a lot about PSE, the utilities going on site. There's a number of things that have changed from the original plan, and I think as a team, we've, like the mayor mentioned, been nimble in implementing the changes required and keeping the project on track as possible. This is pretty heavy civic industrial work for PSE. The duct banks going through this project are larger than you would see on a typical commercial project. So this has been a lot of work for our team to make sure we get everything right and in place. But we are done with the conduit installation on site. We are wrapping up the conduit installation across 3rd Street. We've backfilled most of these areas, and really it's just going to be pulling the wires and then connecting everything point to point. And then we'll be wrapped up with PSE. The only thing to note here is that we are targeting a power switchover, which will affect a portion of the downtown area, likely the courthouse across the street and maybe 1 or 2 other buildings. That is either between the 6th or the 10th, depending on how the wire pulling goes. So we'll continue to communicate that, but that's something that we're looking at in the near future.
I will say before you go on, Alex, Leidig has been, and Adam, they have been amazing on pivoting around the PSC issues, even suggesting that they do some of the excavation to just speed up that process and not wait for Puget Sound Energy to do it. So they volunteered that, hey, we can take care of that to get it moving. So they've really been outstanding on problem solving through that. So just want to make sure that that was noted.
Thank you. So to the tower crane, so you can see this is a yellow tower crane, ours is blue, but the tower crane did go up today. There was a lot of planning that went into it. We call it our crane Bible. It's about 350 pages long, a workbook that we had to fill out each page individually. Al and I came and inspected it. There was, I think, 4 contractors involved in the erection of the tower crane today. It was a large process and went very smooth. And so we've confirmed that the tower crane is safe. The tower crane foundation has not sank. Everything is up to LNI standards. We're going to be having inspections the next couple days, and then probably start operating the crane sometime next week. The crane itself sits in the ramp area on the southeastern third of the building. So as you kind of go through the alley up the the ramp. We kept it outside of the actual envelope so that we could finish the envelope as the crane was still completing the upper stories. That helps with our schedule. But it has clear swing all the way across. You can probably see it was across Broadway as I drove under it today. So next item is the elevator. So there's 2 elevators on the project. It's a plunger style elevator. So it has a hydraulic piston that goes into the ground about 48 feet 6 inches. So we put in these 50-foot elevated casings. So it's an auger cast hole that goes about 50 feet into the ground. You set the casing, and then that allows the elevator subcontractor to install that hydraulic jack later on in the process. Those will serve both the northwest and northeast corners of the building. That work is complete now. And then the next step for us is going to be our subgrade and footings. So we've actually started the mass excavation of the project. Started over in the bottom left corner, kind of near 2nd Street in that alley that connects 2nd and 3rd. That mass excavation is going to consist of about a 3 to 4 foot cut of the existing soils on site. Once we get to that, that's sort of our bottom of slab plus insulation and cap break, which is like a crushed rock material. Once we get to that level, we'll start digging out the actual footings. Our deepest footing is the center sort of eye-shaped area. That is a mat footing. It's a very large footing. It supports the shear walls and sort of the main seismic forces of the building. So that'll be the largest concrete placement. We're going to be placing half of that in a few weeks from now. So you'll start seeing the formwork going in place for that and the concrete operation starting. Other than that, we're going to be placing sort of the spread footings along the alley and getting ready for the ramp area around the crane. So that's it for me. Do you guys have any questions for myself or the Leidig team?
Any questions for Alex?
Awesome, thank you.
Great, thank you.
So during construction, contrary to what many might think, the architect and the design team, including the engineers, are still very much involved in the project. And part of that is through what we call the submittal process. It's a joint effort between the contractor, OAC, HKP, and the owner as well to review all the materials and to confirm that they meet certain requirements of the project. One of which is ensuring that the materials that go in the building have low or no VOCs so that we have a very healthy interior space for people to enjoy. And other aspects of it too are items such as the krypton gas used for the window. So that was something that came up during the submittal process, and we've been working through as a team to find another solution, which in turn is the argon gas for the interstitial layer. But finding the most efficient options that we can to ensure that our building is very energy efficient and continues to function with as little energy need as possible. A couple of other things on this image here are examples such as brick, which you see in the bottom left-hand corner, and then also things such as tile and carpet as well. So we kind of get a sense of all the materials coming together, both the interior and the exterior, and make sure that things are available within the project timeline and when the contractor needs them, and that they meet certain criteria that were established during the design of the project. Any questions on that? No? Okay. And as a team, we continue to meet weekly. Right now, we're meeting every Wednesday between the city, Leidig, OAC, and HKP. We meet once, kind of a sit-down meeting, which is in the image on the right, to be able to talk about various aspects of the project, talk about budget, schedule, and so forth. So that does occur every week. And then following that meeting, we also walk the site to be able to view anything that may have come up or was witnessed by contractors on site. So again, that happens every week. And then in addition to that, there's a lot of coordination meetings that are happening kind of behind the scenes. Leidig's continuing to have coordination meetings with their subcontractors and suppliers, again, to ensure that materials are available when they need them. we're continuing to meet with our engineers to work through items or questions that the contractor may have. And OAC, of course, is working as well and continuing to coordinate with the owner on various aspects. It really is a team effort. It takes a village to bring this, and I think we have the best village working together to bring this town a really phenomenal project. So I'm happy to say that we're working well as a team, and it's a great team, and happy to be a part of it. With that, we'd like to open it up for any questions.
Any questions from council?
Exciting.
Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
So there have been some impacts on our citizens from the traffic pattern changes. So I think I remember that Third Street's gonna stay closed the whole time. That's a yes? Yeah. And then around the perimeter, Second and Kincaid, those have been partly taken up too. Are those gonna stay closed the whole time, or are those be freed up at some point soon?
So those will be freed up. We have sort of one more impact that we're going to be feeling. We do have a little bit of storm and sewer line going across Kincaid Street, which we plan on doing next week. Once we finish that and we finish the PSC work on the 10th, we should be pulling our fence line back to that original location it was at the start of the project, which is right along that curb line. When we do that, we'll open that second lane heading eastbound on Kincaid. And then the Second Street, there is some future work with the water line that we have to do, cap it back, but it won't be as sustained of an impact. This initial infrastructure work for the utility providers, PSE mainly, and then Comcast and Ziply, that'll be the sort of the largest impact that we're going to feel throughout the project, largest like sustained impact.
Great, thank you. It's good for people to know.
Great. Any other questions? All right. It's again, it's a phenomenal team, and if anyone is interested in for the council members to schedule some kind of a walkthrough, I'm sure we'd be happy to do that, and the team would be happy to show it off. So, all right. Thank you very much. Thanks for the update, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, we finished item C, so we're going on to item D, which is a closed record public hearing and approval of a resolution. This is expansion of non-conforming use, plan number 22-0553, and Mary Ann from Development Services is here for this item.
Yay. A lot of steps tonight. Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor. I'm going to be presenting both of the hearings that we have tonight, because Rebecca had a medical issue with a family that she had to take care of tonight. So, the first one, the one that's before you is this is the closed record public hearing for special permission. It is located at 1400 North 30th Street, space number 86. It's within the Skagit Valley Mobile Manor Mobile Home Park, and it is it is because of the applicant converted a structure without benefit of permit, and now they've come in for the special permission. They're basically building a covered porch, but that's opened on the front of their house. The nonconformity for the mobile home is that it doesn't meet the front yard setbacks, and so they are going to. I've got a picture here. You can see the picture down here of this is what they have done. You can see part of it is enclosed and part of it's not, and this was what resulted in the code compliance issue. And so now what they're going to be doing is the entire thing will be uncovered, or will be covered but not enclosed, and they're going to have to move a portion of it back from the front yard so that the new portion meets the required setbacks. So the process that our code in 17102 requires is that we come before council for for a closed record hearing after the public hearing that was held before the hearing examiner, and that's what we're here for tonight. The hearing examiner did recommend for approval, and that we would ask you to adopt the resolution that's attached for approving the special permission for the non-conforming structure. And there isn't anyone here that was at the hearing, so I suppose you can they have to have the hearing anyhow, but I'm just letting you know there wasn't anybody that was there.
Okay. Is there someone on Zoom by any chance?
We have a David Christensen on Zoom.
That's for the other one.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, so any questions for Marianne before we open the closed record public hearing? All right, I'll open the closed record public hearing regarding plan number 22-0553. Seeing that there's no one here interested in speaking or on Zoom, we'll go ahead and close the closed record public hearing. All right, staff is requesting council move to adopt. It would be resolution 1024.
I'd move the adoption of resolution 1024.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mark and a second by Melissa. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, item E is a
Awesome.
closed record public hearing and approval of a resolution. This is concurrency waiver. It's engineering numbers 200316 amendment 1, and I'll turn it back over to Mary Ann.
Okay, so this one is a closed record hearing for a concurrency waiver for the MV 28 LLC RV Resort. You might remember we have been before you before. Gosh, it's been either a year or 2 years when we came before you about the frontage improvements on Riverbend Road. Well, now as they've gotten further into the process, they're getting really close to being ready to start, and the construction permits came in, and they discovered that they need another modification to their entrance on College Way. And so they're asking to have a waiver from the requirements for the 3/4 street improvements. They need the paved section to be a little narrower, and we're going to have sidewalk on the north side of the street, planter strip on the south side of the street, with a small exception on the eastern end where it transitions back into the existing street that's there now. I will point out to you that I do have a little typo in the report where it says under findings and conclusions, and it says the exception for the western 110 feet. That should be the eastern 110 feet. So that just did want to clarify that for you. But anyhow, so again, we had because this was originally a conditional use permit that went to the hearing examiner, and this will be a modification to that. We did go back to the hearing examiner for hearing. He recommended approval of the request for the improvements, and then we're recommending that you follow the hearing examiner's deal. I guess I should have clicked through the slides so that you could at least see them. That was the pic, where it's located. You can see the purple on here is where it doesn't show up very well, but this is the portion of College Way that's going to be done. And here's the section of the code that allows you to do this. And so the big things with the reasons that they need to have this waiver is that the RV resort is located on the very western edge of the city, and where West College Way comes in, it will go to the entrance of the RV park, and that'll be it. Because the city ends, so there won't be any additional extension of it. There's a limited right-of-way on West College Way. It's only 40 feet wide, and the construction requirements and the 3/4 street improvements are such that they can't. It's impossible for them to fit the required 3/4 street improvements within the 40 feet of right-of-way. As you're aware, that area is pretty much developed. There's the Lowe's and the Dairy Queen and the Los Amigos and the old hotel that's in there. There is one small parcel back there that could be for future development, but there's only one. And this little section of road will only serve what is there now, and there are no LOS deficiencies that are created with the proposal. And again, on January 5th, there was an open record hearing before the hearing examiner, and the hearing examiner recommended approval, and we would recommend that you follow the hearing examiner's recommendation and adopt the resolution approving the concurrency waiver.
Okay, any questions for Mary before we open the closed record hearing?
I got a quick
Oh,
one.
go ahead, Gary.
Mary, when you said they found it, or did we find it, in dealing with this?
So what happened is that their engineers came in and discussed, and with the three-quarter improvement, because they have to have some retaining walls that are in the, they were like at a razor's edge to start out with, and they had to include a retaining wall. And with that, it made it so that it wouldn't fit in there anymore. And so then that resulted in the need for them to ask for the waiver that they're asking for.
Okay, did that have to go in front of the hearing examiner, or could we have just?
The reason it had to go in front of the hearing examiner, normally these concurrency waivers just come to council for approval. But this was part of a conditional use permit that had gone to the hearing examiner. And so this was a modification of that permit. So because of that, it had to go to the hearing examiner before it came to you.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, and just to clarify for myself, let me start over. It just wasn't enough room to get what we would normally like to see. And so the compromise is to not have a sidewalk on one side, essentially, is that right? Or
So,
is it less than that?
On three-quarter street improvements, we only require a sidewalk on one side. So they're actually meeting the requirements for the three-quarter street improvements for the sidewalk. The issue is that we would like to have seen a 30-foot section, paved section, and they're doing a 24-foot paved section. And there, like I said, there's a small section of on the eastern end where they transition back into the existing road where we won't have a planter strip. And there is no planter strip on the street right now as it exists.
So it's not an impact to the sidewalk, it's an impact to the width of the road.
Correct, and and the landscaping, just a small impact to the landscaping and an impact to the width of the road. And both Public Works and Fire are fine with that 24-foot section because of the limited amount of property that can be served by it.
Right, and not a lot of expanded, but it is an RV facility. There's gonna be a lot of big rigs coming in and out of there going both ways.
Yeah, and they're aware of that, and I think that width is adequate for that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll open the closed record hearing regarding this concurrency waiver. It's engineering permit number 20-0316, and I believe there is Mr. Christensen on Zoom. If would like to make a comment, he's welcome to at this closed record hearing. I believe he's a party of record.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Christensen, if you'd like to make a comment, you're welcome to at this time.
And all works, and it'll take the loading of. It's good to go. We thought this was all approved a long time ago, but we had to go through this process, and we have no issues with the approval, and we're ready to go.
All right, thank you very much.
Comment, we will go ahead and close the closed record hearing regarding this concurrency waiver. This would be resolution 1025 if council wishes to take action tonight.
I'll make a motion, the mayor, to approve resolution, say that one more time, please.
1025.
1025.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, motion by Melissa and a second by Gary. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Can
Thank
I
you,
ask
Diane.
just one question with that? The resolution before was 1024, was that correct?
Correct.
Because I didn't write it down, sorry.
That's okay.
about that.
1024 for the
All right.
expansion of
Great.
nonconformity.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mary Ann. All right, item F tonight is the approval of a resolution. This is regarding police lieutenant salary. Our HR director, Ms. Erin Cater, is here for this, and I will turn it over to her.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here tonight to request that council authorize the mayor to sign a resolution regarding lieutenants' wages, wage differential between the lieutenants and the police sergeants, sorry. The city employs 2 police lieutenants. Those 2 employees are both non-represented employees. We also have police sergeants, which are within the police collective bargaining union. The salaries between the non-represented lieutenants and the police sergeants have historically been a minimum wage differential of 13 and 17%. So if the sergeants get a pay increase, then the lieutenants get a pay increase. If the sergeants don't get a pay increase, the lieutenants don't get a pay increase. Based on current practice, if there is not a collective bargaining agreement in effect on the first of the year, then the lieutenants do not get a cost of living adjustment. Obviously, the sergeants don't either. But as we go through negotiations, which could take months, sometimes longer, once we ratify the contract, the sergeants receive retro pay to the first of the year of that contract agreement. Lieutenants, because they're non-represented, do not get retroactive pay. So to mitigate the loss of wages in those situations, we're recommending that with this resolution, we change the language to say that the differential is a minimum of 13 and 17%, so it's not strict on that percentage, and allow the police lieutenants to receive a cost of living adjustment along with the non-represented employees, which they are, on the first of the year. Any questions?
Any questions for Erin on this?
I do have one question. So I understand that we get into contract negotiations, we go back and retro pay. And are we saying that we're just gonna give a cost of living to the lieutenants and then not go back and pay retro pay because they're non-represented?
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanna make sure I had that clear. Otherwise, we'd be given a cost of living plus then going backwards, so.
That's correct.
Okay.
So if the sergeants do receive a larger increase later in the year, then the lieutenants will be bumped up effective the date of ratification,
Right.
but there's
Okay.
no retro.
And that was a resolution very similar to what we passed a number of years ago.
It wasn't a resolution, but there was a policy that you passed back in 2015.
And that was, I think it was never perceived that we would go, past the contract date and actually go back pay, as we sometimes do. But it just wasn't thought of at the time. So
Right.
this just kind of cleans that language up.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? This is also, requires a resolution, which would be number 1026.
I'll motion for approval of resolution 1026.
Thank you.
Second?
All right, motion by Juan and a second by Mark. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Item G tonight is the approval of a resolution. This is to set a public hearing date, and Alan Danforth from Development Services is here for this particular item.
Hi, everybody.
Alan.
So Resolution 1027 will set a public hearing date for February 22nd of next month. And the discussion would be whether to or not to vacate a narrow 4-foot strip of public right-of-way that runs along an alley off of 2nd and Gates. And that's about it. Part of the alleyway, when it was originally platted, it was 12 foot wide all the way through. And I believe that was done in the early 20s. And then in 1926, for some odd reason, an extra 4 feet for the north half of the alley was dedicated to the city. The property owner would like the city to vacate it so that he can install some stairs and other building accoutrements for, so that he could access the building as part of redeveloping the old, I believe it was an old telephone building.
Okay, it is the telephone.
Yeah, and so that's my spiel at this point. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm just glad we were able to get to this point, because I've talked with the property owner in the past.
Yeah, Mike?
And it seemed kind of odd that we had this little 4-foot strip, and I know at one time he was talking with then Director Phillips of Development Services, and Director Phillips has moved on. We've got a new director, and
Yeah.
I think he's back there doing public works stuff now. So no, it's nice to see this come forward and get this resolved for the property owner.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes sense too. It really cleans up the geometry of it, and we have a nice even right of way going through versus jogging, so.
Good. All right, so this again is a resolution. It'd be 1027. It's simply setting a public hearing date. It's not taking any action. It's just following our process.
I would move the adoption of resolution 1027.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mark and a second by Juan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Excellent,
Thank you. All right, now we have completed items H through U. We are now down to item V, and this is our executive session. So I'd like to invite the members of the city council to an executive session. I wasn't clear on the time we would want.
20 minutes, Your Honor?
About 20 minutes. So that would be beginning at about, I would say 8:20, lasting for 20 minutes until 8:40. And I will ask our city attorney to announce the reason for the executive session.
We'll be entering into an executive session to discuss with legal counsel enforcement actions, litigation, or potential litigation to which the city, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is, or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in either adverse legal or financial consequence to the city, pursuant to RCW 4230, subsection 110(1)(I), and discuss issues related to collective bargaining sessions, including contract negotiations, grievance meetings, and discussions relating to the interpretation application of a labor agreement, or planning or adopting the strategy or position related to a collective bargaining, which is exempt from the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to RCW 4230's section 140 subsection 4. 20 minutes.
All right, with that, we'll be adjourned into the executive session at 8:20.